Hello and welcome to Business Made Simple. I'm your host, Tim Mansour, and my co-host and wife,
Chrystal Mansour. We are broadcasting live from the Subaru of Gwinnett studio here on Business RadioX. We are really excited about our guests today, two surprise guests. Some people might already know who they are, but from this introduction, I'm sure you'll be able to figure it out. But these two people are very special to us. They're awesome Gwinnett County community leaders. Our first guest is very well known in the podcasting business. He is a multi-talented entrepreneur who owns his own podcast studio, and he is the lead host here on Gwinnett Business RadioX. He is a former sports anchor, sports director, talk show host, a world-renowned Olympic broadcaster. Wow. This is a very impressive resume.
Who are they talking about?
Who are they talking about?
Wow.
We want to welcome Mr. Mike Salmon, the beloved and respected Mr. Salmon. What
Everybody
awesome
sounds good on
guest.
paper, don't they?
Well, I'm sure you will tell
true.
us all about you today because this is exactly what we want to know. So our second guest is Mike's right-hand person. Totally have just enjoyed this person. She is as talented, smart, and accomplished as she is beautiful. And that is this welcome, Miss Amanda Birch.
Good morning.
All right.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, Amanda is a dynamic director of marketing and business development at RadioX, Business RadioX. Amanda also serves as the host of her own popular weekly show, Celebrating Powerhouse Women. I love that title. I really do. Occasionally, she serves as a host here on Gwinnett Business RadioX. She has a long career in sales and marketing and specializes in brand awareness and driving engagement, and that is for sure. We can testify to that. We appreciate and love her energizing and engaging personality and recognize what a tremendous asset she here is at Gwinnett Business RadioX. So we're excited about these two guests today.
very excited to have Mike and Amanda. We're going to talk a little bit about, as we did before in our podcast, you know, when you go into any business, no matter what it is, you need to either know it inside and out, or you need to find the right people to work with. And in a lot of our businesses, we've talked before, we were in the fitness industry, and it seemed we pretty much knew a lot about the fitness industry, from high school to college ball. I mean, we've been around it all our life. But even then, we brought people in to help us to make that more successful. But as we started to grow, I decided that I wanted to go and buy and get into the equipment business. Now, I was around equipment all my life, but to know it is in a business, to know different commercial people to sell to, people from home to sell to, I did not have that information. So I went out and I found a guy named Donnie Florin, great guy from Marietta, brought him in, and he helped us run that business. He had connections with Georgia Tech. He had connections with so many different people that we did not have. So as we've talked this so many times before, in business, you need to either find someone that knows the business inside and out, or either you need to know it inside and out yourself. We did it in many different ways. We did it in the vitamin store. We did it in the equipment store. We did it with even in our tennis business. With last podcast, we had Aubrey Jackson. Aubrey's a guru of tennis. We brought him in and ran a great business for 12 years. So the same thing has happened in the podcast. We decided, after dealing and meeting Mike, we met him at a Gwinnett Chamber
Event. It was a business panel.
A business panel. We had some business people on the panel, and Mike was MC, did a terrific job. I never knew him before then, and just was so impressed on how he handled himself. And of course, he's great on the mic, which is something else. So after the event, Mike and I were talking, and we gave him a book of ours that we had, Starting a Business with Zero. He read the book and later called us and asked us to be on his show. And that was really the first time we ever knew about podcasting. I mean, we hear about it, but, you know, when we were coming up, it just wasn't there. And now I think it's the best thing out. But talking to Mike, and after doing the show, he had mentioned that we might be interested in doing it. So Chrystal and I talked for months back and forth and decided we did want to get into it, and we felt we had a lot of information that we wanted to share with listeners. And that's kind of how we got started. Now, I know Mike will tell you and Amanda that you do not have to have Radio X to start a podcast, but I do want to say this. It has been unbelievable for us. I mean, we would have never been where we're at today not having Radio X and not having them, which they have walked us through so many things. We'll never know as much as they do about it, but it has been an unbelievable help to have them with us. So I guess if I'm saying that if you ever really decide to get into it, you ought to at least give them a shot and talk to them, and because they can tell you more than you'll probably ever know.
Well, there's just so much about the podcasting that we had no clue. And Amanda, you are so good at the awareness side and the social media and just how you do that. And Mike, you are just, you can just tell the experience that you have behind all your, just being so comfortable behind the mic and with people and interviewing. You make us feel both. You both make us feel so warm and welcomed every time we come in. But just being able to figure out everything that you do from the very beginning, I mean, that's a learning curve. That's been a huge learning curve for us. So we appreciate the expertise that y'all have given us.
It's very weird for us to be on this side of the microphone where we're not asking the questions. I want to sit here and I'm listening and I'm watching you guys and I'm evaluating, doing my producing job, and I'm thinking I need to fix Tim's mic and get it more towards his mouth so it's he sounds better. And it's like no, you're a guest, but it's. It's funny because when I met Tim, I had no idea who Tim was. He was on this panel, and they were asking a lot of questions, at the chamber event, and I was the moderator. And I told Tim this afterwards. I think 90% of the questions were for Tim. Who is this Tim Mansour guy? They wanted, and I learned very quickly, very successful businessman who started with zero, and all the questions were from him. And I had to kind of weed through the questions so other panelists would get questions.
Appreciate it.
And then Tim was kind enough to offer me his book. I read the book, I think, in 2 days, because my business philosophy is a lot like your business philosophy. Something you said many times on the show, and you just kind of said it in a roundabout way with us, is that if you're the smartest guy in the room, there's problems there. And so we appreciate the kind words about Amanda and myself. We are here to guide you and our other clients and hold your hand as much or as little as you'd like, so you can come in and just concentrate on the content and what you want to talk about, because as you said, anybody can do it. You don't need Business RadioX, as you said, Chrystal, but I think for a lot of people it's just nice to have that life raft there to fall back on in case you need it. Plus we do give you tips and try to help you along the way.
Well, I think that's what has saved us is when we did take the leap and we decided we're going to do this. It is just such a trendy new thing that has been so popular for the last few years. Right now, Tim and I are so happy that we went the route with Radio X because it has been phenomenal. I mean, now we are podcast listeners.
And your podcasters.
It's been great. We would not have it any other way.
And everybody listens to podcasts. Everything that you do, my son's a doctor, and I was talking to him about it when I first got started. He said, "Oh, Daddy, I listen to them all the time." And I never knew that. I mean, he says, when I travel, I'll listen to them. Might be 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 10 minutes. But the great thing about it is you can listen to it, cut it off, pick it back up. So we're just all excited. But today, what we want to do is know more about who is Mike and who is Amanda. We know them as Radio X. And there's so many things in business that y'all have done before that. And I know a lot of the people that come in, I mean, there's lawyers and decorators, so many different people that really don't know how you got started, where you started. Was it high school that you started thinking, I want to do this? And what I'd love to know more, Mike, is more about you. If it's family or how you got started, what made you do what you're doing, and where you've been through your life.
Well, obviously, and I think, Tim, you and I are probably in the same generation here. When we were growing up as kids, there was no internet. There was no podcasting, so I wasn't a 5-year-old kid thinking, I want to be a podcaster when I grow up. I grew up in the Northeast, and several years right outside the Boston area. And if you live in Boston, you can't not be a hockey fan. And I grew up in the days of the great Bobby Orr. He was a hockey player. To me, I don't get starstruck because I've interviewed a lot of celebrities and a lot of big names over the years. He's one guy, if I ever met Bobby Orr, I'd be tongue-tied. I wouldn't know what to say.
I don't believe that.
So it's true. I grew up a big Bobby Orr fan and watched the Big Bad Bruins. And for some reason, I loved playing sports as a kid, football and baseball and everything. But I never said to myself, I want to be an athlete when I grow up. I want to be the guy broadcasting the games. I really enjoyed watching the hockey games and listening to the broadcasters, and I wanted to be Fred Cusick and Johnny Pearson, who were the broadcasters for the Bruins back then. I don't know why, but I never thought about actually playing. Now, with the money these days, I wish I had thought about playing. So when we were 15, my dad's business took him to Atlanta. So we moved down here, and it just so happens that the University of Georgia has one of the best broadcasting schools in all of the country. All the big names, there's three big schools, or it used to be three big schools. Syracuse University, that's where Bob Costas and Marv Albert and all the big sportscasters came from. Great sportscasting school. The University of Missouri, and as fate would have it, the University of Georgia, the Henry Grady School of Journalism and Mass Communication, a great broadcasting school. So fate brought me to Atlanta. I ended up going to UGA. The first thing I did when I got there as a freshman is I checked out the campus radio station, and I said, I'll do anything. And that's one advice I would give to anybody that wants to be in any kind of business. Just get your foot in the door. Clean toilets, do whatever it takes, just get in the door. And so I started out doing news for the campus radio station. It was a student-run radio station. Even though I wanted to be in sports, again, just do anything to get in the door. So I started out in news, covering Athens City Council meetings and Board of Education meetings and things like that. But by my sophomore year, I was in sports, and I'm broadcasting Georgia baseball games. And Georgia, we had JV football back then. They don't have JV programs anymore, but back then they had JV football and women's basketball. So I was doing all the things that I wanted to do, and that led to a job at a commercial radio station in Athens. So I was actually doing everything that I wanted to get my degree while I was in school. So by the time I was a junior taking my journalism and mass communication classes, I kind of felt like I already knew it, and I aced all my classes. In one class, and quick story, I actually not only aced every single test, but I got every single bonus question, so my score for the whole class must have been 104 or something. But because I've been doing it every day. So that's important to just, don't let anything stop you. Go ahead and try to get the experience from day one, just doing anything that it takes. So I ended up continuing and working at the commercial station and at the student-run station, WUOG. By my senior year, I was the general manager of the student station, and I just was very fortunate to be able to do a lot of experience while I was in school. I got to actually sit behind Larry Munson. Most students sit in the stands. My sophomore through senior year, I'm sitting behind the great legendary voice of Georgia football, Larry Munson, and my job was to call the radio station, get the scores of all the other games going on. There was no internet back then, so they would get from the ticker tape and give me the scores. I'd write them down on the Dixie Crystal Sugar scoreboard, and I would hand it to Larry Munson, and on the broadcast he would go, and on the Dixie Crystal Sugar scoreboard, Clemson beating North Carolina, and I used to get the biggest high out of that. But man, the thing I just handed to Larry Munson, he just read it on the air. So I was very privileged in college, and that's what started my broadcasting career.
Great stepping stone.
That's what we're talking about. I knew none of that.
I did not either.
That's exactly what we want to know. Now let me ask you this. I know you've done other things, the Olympics. Now how did that come about?
It's you never. My advice to everybody that you work with, no matter who they are, from a janitor to the news director to anybody, you never know who they're going to be at the time. And so when I first got started in the broadcast business, I was with a lot of other young people in my shoes that wanted to be broadcasters too. One of them turned out to have a connection with the Olympics and ended up years later getting a job with Olympic Broadcasting Services. And years back in 2008, the Beijing Summer Games, Olympic Broadcasting Services is basically under the IOC's umbrella, the International Olympic Committee's umbrella. They are in charge of all the broadcast rights. This gentleman, a friend of mine, got a job with the OBS, and they needed some announcers for the games. I ended up doing some work for them at the 2010 Winter Games in Vancouver, broadcasting some of the events, and I've done about 4 Olympics since. And had the Olympics this year not been delayed until next year because of the pandemic, I would just be getting back from Tokyo right now, where I would have been calling broadcasting baseball. And what OBS is basically it's providing the pictures and the video to the rights holders around the world. Here in the, and I feel like I'm stealing the whole show from Amanda, and she deserves a lot of time too. So I'll get my story.
You have more years to speak about than me.
Here, when you watch the Olympics here in the United States, you're watching NBC's coverage. They own the broadcast rights. But the video that you're seeing is actually our camera guys, OBS, because think about it, at a basketball game at the Summer Games, you can't have 100 countries all televising the game. So we are the ones that televise the game, and we provide that video to all of the Olympic Broadcasting countries. So NBC is actually using our pictures, except for one camera that they use for their own announcers. So they're announcing the game with their announcers, but other than the camera that's on maybe Bob Costas or whoever's calling the game, all the other action you see is actually our OBS video that we're feeding them, and then they choose which shots they want to take. So had the Japan games been going on, had they not been postponed until next year, you could have Bob Costas in one booth calling the baseball games there in Japan, and in the booth next to him is me, and I'm also calling the game, but my voice is being heard around the world where these countries are not sending their own broadcasters. In the States, it's NBC. You're going to hear Bob Costas. But a lot of the countries don't send their own announcing teams, so you might actually have a better chance of hearing me doing the Olympics in Singapore or South Africa than you would here. You won't actually hear me here.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
So and what Mike just did, and this is amazing. So if you decided to go into broadcasting, do you understand why I say find somebody that knows what they're talking about? Mike just went over things that we would never have an idea about. So it just shows again, and it proves what I've always been saying. If you're going to do something in business, find someone that's been there. Find someone, because what he just told us, you would take years to learn half of it. So it's just amazing. And I know the people will be happy, because as long as I've known Mike, I didn't know hardly any of that. So I just think it's great, and that's what we're here today for. Going to Amanda.
Well, don't pass up really quickly here. Let's talk about your Braves days, and also when you're at 92.9.
See, I'm a jack of all trades and a master of none.
I don't think that I completely covered that in your introduction.
He's very modest.
And it would be like, 5 pages, I'm sure.
I've gone from college, started out in television at a small market TV station in Columbus, Georgia, CBS. Was sports director on the very first day of work. I was anchoring the 11 o'clock news. On my second day, I was doing the 6 o'clock and the 11 o'clock sportscast. And I was the only sports guy they had there. And so for 2 months, I had no days off. And I finally went to the news director and said, you've got to hire somebody else in sports. And I recommended a good friend of mine that I went to school with. He ended up being my number 2 guy. Our number 3 guy is a big name now, Rhys Davis from ESPN.
Oh, yeah.
Does the college football. He came out of the University of Alabama, was our number 3 guy. And Rhys started at WRBL TV covering Columbus City Council meetings, Board of Education meetings. He started in news, just like I said, whatever it takes to get your foot in the door. When I left Channel 3 to go do baseball play-by-play, Rhys became sports full-time. And now you look at him on ESPN. Right. So just whatever it takes to get yourself in the door, and then work hard and prove yourself, and great things will happen. So I've done that. CNN Headline News, was a sports anchor there for a couple of years. Again, when I went to CNN, I started as a writer. I just wanted to get in the door.
Right.
I had a lot of broadcast experience, but there was no openings. I just found a position as a writer and let them know that, hey, if something opens up on air, I'm interested. Something opened up, and I just pushed my way and did that for a couple of years. Sports Talk 92.9, the game here in Atlanta. Because of my baseball play-by-play background, got a couple of years of doing Atlanta Braves spring training games on radio and TV, because the regular announcers, for example, Chip Carey, who does the Braves on TV, Jim Powell, who was a good friend of mine both Chip and Jim, we all went to school together. Chip's doing the Braves games on TV. Jim Powell's doing the games on radio for the Braves, and I'm sitting here at Business RadioX. I'm not sure what happened there. But, no, great guys.
Very successful, Business RadioX.
But during spring training, a lot of those guys will come in and do a couple games just to kind of get into the routine, but they've been doing it for years. They don't need to do every single spring training game, so the Braves are always looking for someone to help out with the other games. So I got to do a lot of spring training games for the Braves, so that's how that happened. Again, it's just knowing the right people. Jim obviously was able to recommend me. And just working hard.
Did you ever work with Skip Carey?
No, I only met Skip one time. I know he was very proud of his son Chip, because I remember calling Chip one summer. We were going to get together and do something, and Skip answered the phone, and I said, "Can I speak to Chip?" And he goes, and he was so proud of Chip, because Chip did Georgia baseball as well. Exactly. That was how Chip started out. And he goes, you mean the famous sportscaster Chip Carey of the University of Georgia baseball? And I always knew how proud he was. And I met him only one time at a hockey game in Atlanta. He was sitting behind me, and I just said, hey, I'm good friends with your son Chip. And this was like 25 years ago. But so I only met him, never worked with him, though.
Right. Great guy. Yeah, sure was. Miss Amanda. So we know how great you are to Radio X. We know the only other thing that I know is something about a hotel. I think you worked in the hotel business.
I did.
So
yes.
tell us a little bit about where you started, how you took the steps to get here.
I stumbled through the door about 2 years ago. No, quite literally, yeah, Business RadioX. Taking it way, way back, I hail from Peachtree City, Georgia, which is about 70 miles south of here.
Golf cart
Also
community
known
down
as the
there.
golf cart
That's
community.
right.
And yes, my daddy works for Delta, but he's a mechanic, okay? He's not a pilot. I grew up in Peachtree City. I lived there for 30 years. Outgrew the market whenever I started working. A livable wage was not achievable there for the field that I was in. I went to school at North Georgia College and State University for medical assisting. My parents kind of really laid the hammer down and made me decide what I wanted to do, and I was indecisive at the time, so I selected something that had growth potential. However, I've done nothing with it since, and I do apologize to my parents. However, it was a wonderful experience. I did complete it in totality. I did the externship program, and it simply wasn't affording me what my part-time job was, which was in marketing and sales. So that's kind of when I got my footing or found my strengths within the workforce. I wasn't able to identify those really in college because you're really just kind of trying to do everything by the book and just get it all done and manage your time and have just a little bit of fun while you're at it. So once I entered the workforce, I really was able to discover my strengths, and you guys were so kind to mention some of them before, but obviously the gift of gab. And
There is nothing wrong with that. I'm a Gemini, so I get it.
the gift of gab. And I was able to kind of put my my fuel to work in a specific direction. So going back to your original question, Tim, yes, hotels I found probably in 2013 down in Peachtree City. I entered and I worked at the front desk just to kind of learn the hotel with a sales position in mind. I quickly advanced into a sales manager role, and I kind of just took flight from there. Hospitality is a wonderful little niche, and I fell into it head over heels. It is very time consuming, and it is exhausting at times because there's no holidays or weekends or anything like that. But talk about grit and sweat. Let me tell you, you learn how to work really hard and do with a little bit because you oftentimes have to wear many hats for your team. So kind of tying into Business RadioX, 3 years ago, this hotel actually, Sonesta, recruited me off of LinkedIn. That was a first time for me. That's a big key right there. Keep your LinkedIn nice and polished and up to date because people are watching. And they relocated me here to Gwinnett. And I had visited Gwinnett in the past, actually this very hotel when it was a Marriott for an event at the Infinite Energy Center.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And didn't have too much familiarity with Gwinnett, but going back to me outgrowing the marketplace that I was in and seeking alternatives, to achieve, Gwinnett was just a whole new humongous playground of a new marketplace for me. So I accepted the role and I moved here, and I've been in Gwinnett for 3 years ever since. Through working at the hotel and through community and civic events, Mike and I got to know each other, and there was synergy and, lead referral, so on and so forth. And then lo and behold, there was an opening for a role within Business RadioX on Indeed.com, and I applied. I was one of 20 applicants, and let me tell you, it was a grueling process. However, I was selected for the role.
Well, I can definitely understand what he sees.
It was
in
narrowed
that
down to
energy
3,
there.
and I'll tell you what, really, maybe you can speak a little more to that. There were some seasoned vets that were applying for the role, and by that I mean they had 20 years on me in the marketplace. However, they did not have the pizzazz that I have.
You're speechless.
It's like meeting
He's
Bobby
something.
Orr.
I'm over here agreeing. I'm over here agreeing.
You know what? Half the battle is just showing enthusiasm and so forth.
Exactly.
You come into an interview and you just really want the job, and you can tell. And some of the other candidates, we didn't even get past a phone interview because just talking to them, all they wanted to know is, well, how much can you compensate me?
Exactly.
And when you want to break into a business, and this is a new business for Amanda, it's so much more than just that. And she brought to the table a lot of things that I'm not strong in. Where you're weak, that's where you want to find someone that can.
Tim has always said
So
that.
true.
Yeah, that's why Tim and I are the same guy.
He's always said that.
basically.
But he's way tanner.
And so, yeah. And Amanda brings so much expertise when it comes to social media. She's taught me as much as I've probably taught her.
She is
Y'all are
Dynamite.
great together.
And I'll tell you
Dynamite.
what's really cool too is, and that's what I love about you guys, is you're at the stage of your life, Tim and Chrystal, where you've done it all, and now you're giving back. You want to share your knowledge, and that's a big reason you're doing this program. I'm the same way too. I love seeing Amanda now come on and do her Celebrating Powerhouse Woman show. She's come a long way from the first show to where she is today. To me, and I've never told her, I think this is what she was meant to do.
Which
That
is
gift
great.
of
I think so.
gab. Yeah,
I think so,
she's
too.
found her lane
And she's definitely found her passion.
because she is very good at it. And I don't want to give her too much of a big head, so don't be listening anymore. But
She deserves it.
at my stage in my life too, I love putting other people out behind the mic now. I've been there. I've done it. I've interviewed all the people. I've done sports talk. Part of the reason I left 92.9 was there were so many great young people coming up that had no place to be, and I just felt like I had run my course already. I didn't have the passion for that anymore, for sports talk that I have now for, like, say, business talk. So I left that job. But I really enjoy just seeing others and pushing others. Art Williams is the founder of a company. Art Williams' company is now Primerica. He was the founder of Primerica. He wrote a book,
Know him very well.
Pushing People Up was his book. Very much like your book,
Right.
very
We know
positive.
their whole family says
When you bring people around you, work with other people, if you push them up, that will only make you more successful. The rising tide lifts all boats and so forth. And so I love putting Amanda out there and pushing her out in the community. And I've pulled back. So you're always pushing me out there now.
You don't have to push me into the community.
Right.
I love being in the
Yes.
community.
Well,
but I will say,
I think the producing side and the critiquing side of where you are now with your experience and what you do has meant it's probably not even explainable, the mentorship that
Yes.
you've been able to receive here.
absolutely. And like Mike said, and he referenced it before, kind of when he got in on the ground level, when he was ascending the ranks of his career, Mike saw the passion and the potential within me, and he kind of helped metamorphosize that into the talent, kind of harnessed, tapped into what I couldn't see, and he helped develop me into I don't know if I'd call myself a broadcaster, but to the comfortability behind the mic in order to host my own show or just sit here with you guys. I've enjoyed the growth that I've experienced, and he too pushes me. And much like he said, the synergy that we have is where the other, I'm strong where he's weak and vice versa. So I think we do a great job of propelling each other forward and holding each other accountable. That's really top in a partnership, to hold each other accountable as well.
Well,
So
I think
I've
the whole
definitely-
staff here, just seems to be like right hand, left hand,
in cadence.
clasped together. It's just that it works so smoothly here, and every person that we've met that's on this team for Business Radio X has been phenomenal. You've done a great job finding all of the talent that you have.
We do.
Well, our passion is working with great clients and friends like yourself,
Aw.
and seeing you guys grow and seeing you guys become these wonderful podcasters. You already had the leadership within you, but like you mentioned before, Tim, that you were nervous or this was new to you. Nobody would be able to
He
tell.
never gets nervous.
You guys are pros.
I'm the nervous nanny
Yes,
over here.
and
so-
watching you guys just flourish. And frankly, I listen to your podcasts again after I am here. I see them live and in person, but I still listen to them at home because the information is so robust and so applicable to life. I very much enjoy it. So that's another caveat to what we enjoy about what we do.
We appreciate this. What I love today is we know more about y'all now, and I hope other people do, because it's so important. Mike, gosh, the things that you've done, I never knew. I just think it's
You
great.
have no idea that I've even run and been part owner of minor league sports teams.
See,
I
and
Columbus
that's
War
amazing.
Dogs.
I got. See, I'm
Amazing.
jack of all trades,
That's
master
it.
of none.
Well, I do have
No.
a question for you. With all of your experience and all of your great just wealth, knowledge that you have that you want to share, are any of your kids interested in following your footsteps?
My son is into sports. He wants to be a sports announcer, he tells
Does
me.
he?
But right now, he's too involved in his video
No,
games.
now, how old is he, Mike? I'm sorry.
He's 20.
He's 20, okay.
Okay.
And it's just one child?
And a 24-year-old daughter who's trying to break into the music industry and about to
Okay.
release her first music video.
But Mike also, she does podcasting, and Mike has assisted.
Yeah, she does a
with
music
this platform.
podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah,
See,
yes.
But they have that outward, personality like you, right? Do they?
My daughter, yeah, I got to reel her
It's always
back.
the women, right?
And
Yeah.
my son is a little bit more reserved, especially around people he doesn't know.
Okay.
But he's a wealth of knowledge when it comes to sports. He makes me look bad.
That's wild.
Well, it's just amazing because it's like even though you have Business Radio X, you have all this other experience and even pathways that you still like to take advantage of and that you have in your life. Where do you see everything going within the next 5 years?
For Business Radio X?
Yeah,
Or?
for Business Radio X, for you, for
Well,
everything else you do.
For me, I'm keeping my. I still stay in the the broadcasting. I'll be doing the Olympics until I can't do the Olympics anymore. I still to this day have filled in every once in a while doing minor league baseball games up in Gwinnett. In fact, last year I did a game for the for Charlotte. I wasn't even the Stripers announcer. Because I know a lot of the people in the business. Matt, who is the broadcaster for the Charlotte minor league baseball team, had a conflict because he also does college football, and they happened to be in Gwinnett, so I did that game. So I stay in it. I love, and Amanda touched upon it, I love seeing the Tim and Chrystal Mansours get into this world and all of a sudden just grow, and it helps their business. And see, I get a lot of satisfaction seeing you guys loving this so much. And all the clients we have, and I think Amanda can attest, are all great people, because not only do we have good people that work here, all the ones behind the scenes and the ones you hear on the air, but all our hosts, and they're just good people. So you guys fit right in, and that's why I wanted you guys here as much as you wanted to be here as well. And I know you guys know this from the fitness business. One of the things I tell Amanda, and I've told everybody else, is I don't care if you're having a bad day at home or things aren't going well. When you're at work and you're in front of those clients, it's a great day.
It just changes it.
You've got to be in a positive mood. You can't go to your fitness center and be in a bad mood and then you snap at one of your clients.
Yes.
So if you're here, and so in the broadcast business, in any business, if you have that Debbie Downer feel, you're not going to last very. People don't want to be around people like that. So just be positive all the time. We all have problems. We all sometimes can't pay our bills or can't do this, or the car breaks down, or our significant other just got on to us and so forth. But you can't bring that into work. So that would be my little piece of advice for business people.
Energy is contagious.
It
like
really
you
is.
mentioned, my energy. If you bring that negativity into the room, like you can almost feel it and smell it when you walk in. It's like
Definitely. That's like when I'm teaching classes. If I'm in a bad mood and I give the attitude or the vibe that I don't want to be there, it's not going to work. Yeah, it's not going to work. But it's reciprocated as far as the passion that you have. Like if you are having a bad day, you can see you both walk in, and this is where you want to be. This is where your passion is. This is what you love from your head to your heels, and it shows every single time that we walk in the door. So we do appreciate that as well.
we love Wednesdays.
Yes. Oh my gosh, you're sweet.
And a lot of the stuff we're talking about is actually in your book.
Appreciate
Yes,
it.
it is.
And so I would highly recommend it. It is not impossible.
It's not impossible. Yeah.
Building a
And
business from zero.
Chrystal will
Yeah,
give you
that's
information on that.
Yeah.
Great read.
What Mike said and what Amanda's saying is so true. In life, things are going to happen. We always say that. It's just how you're going to handle them. I mean, it's going to be a situation where you have two ways to handle them, positive or negative. It's so much easier to be positive. It really is. And a lot of people might not want to be around you when you're positive. If someone's negative, the last thing they want to do sometimes is be around somebody that's positive, because they feel like that person's so lucky. And it's nothing to do with that. It's just how you handle the situation. And I just think that's so important. I want to thank both of you with all of our heart. Number
That's
one,
right.
to sit down with us. I know a lot of people out there, are going to enjoy this because we wanted to know more about you. We think the world of you. Y'all have helped us unbelievable. We appreciate that. Just love being a part of y'all, and just excited about today, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for letting us sit on the other side of the table. I enjoyed
Yes,
the
please,
experience.
please don't make me do this again.
I know, but we
I'm
talked
not in my
about
comfort zone.
well, we talked about that before we got on the air. So Tim was like, "I know Mike's going to be nervous, and so if we need to edit something, we can." But
you know people.
Wait a minute, I have to stop
we
you.
know
know
people.
people.
Tim and Chrystal can attest. Every day you should do something that takes you out of your comfort zone in order to
100%.
experience
Exactly.
growth.
Well, that's how you get
So Mike
growth.
Check the box for the
What-
day.
That's
What is
right.
it?
Check the box.
Never say I should have.
Yeah, never look in the mirror and say, I wish I would have.
Because I have a lot of
That's
I wish
right.
I would have in my life.
Oh,
There are a
well,
lot
I
of things that
can't
I did
believe-
not do that I wish
Wow.
I had done.
I don't
because
say you could have done
fear
more.
or whatever reason I didn't do them.
Well, we all have that.
You've
you know,
done a
we've
lot.
all
I'll
have
tell
that.
you what. So you ought to be proud of where you've been. That's for sure. We're glad. We love knowing y'all. We love being a part of you. But we wanted to know more about you, and now we do. And I hope all of our millions and millions of listeners get the same thing.
That's right. We have completely enjoyed today's show. Y'all are fantastic, and just hearing your journey and your experience, and it's been a great experience for us because, like I said, the little bitty teeny that we knew in the beginning, we can't say that anymore.
So now we know you.
That's right. That's right.
You're
that's
polished
right.
pros.
That's
That's
right.
it.
By the way, the 5-year contract is here for you to sign. Stay with Business
I knew
Radio
it.
X.
And we
Well,
were
then that means you have to do this again.
That's it.
Deal.
Well, we hope you enjoyed this episode of Business Made Simple. Mike and Amanda, Tim and I, as Tim said, we greatly appreciate your help, your expertise, and your experience that you have shown to us with our own podcast. You and Amanda and your staff have been fantastic. We really appreciate it. You're the reason why we have decided to come here and be a part of the podcasting world and be a part of this experience and add it to our journey. It's been amazing, but thanks to you both, as Tim said. Listen live here on Business Radio X or on your favorite podcast app. You can visit our website at www.mansour, that's MANSOUR, international.com to catch up on all episodes. We look forward to talking to you again here on Business Made Simple. And until then, watch what you wish for. It might come true.